In this review, we're going to look at adaptations. So behaviors, remember, come as either innate, which are like instincts, they're coded for by DNA, or learned behaviors, which are gathered through experience. And both of these help organisms survive, so get resources, things like that, and reproduce. Some examples are things like phototaxis, moving to light, photolight, taxi, to move. Chemotaxis, moving to food. And classical conditioning, learning by association. That's like Pavlov's dog associating food with the bell. Some structural adaptations. Remember, in general, when we're talking about these kind of adaptations, we're looking at organisms being able to move further from the water and become larger and more complex. So in the case of plants, remember, moss is one of the lesser complex plants, and most of that has to do with the fact that it's non-vascular. So it has to be real small and has to be real close to water because it doesn't have any of those pipes that allow it to move water and materials around its cells. Then we got the advancement of vascular tissue, first with things like ferns, and then more advanced and complex with things like trees, which is why, again, trees are able to grow farther away from water and be much larger. There's also a number of unicellular adaptations. A couple of these are for moving and getting food, including cilia, which are these little hair-like structures. The flagellum, which is the whip-like structure. Pseudopods. The eye spot helps detect light so that the organism can move towards it. So that would be phototaxis. You see here it has chloroplasts. The contractile vacuole is necessary because osmosis is bringing water into the cell, and so the contractile vacuole is going to use active transport to pump it out. So it's going to be using ATP for that. Now let's look at reproductive adaptations. So remember, sexual reproduction increases variation. Asexual reproduction is a lot easier because it only takes one individual, and it's a lot faster, but it doesn't create any variation. This is why most organisms that do asexual reproduction are unicellular, or you can have organisms like us that do sexual reproduction to reproduce ourselves, so that would be with meiosis, and asexual reproduction to reproduce ourselves with mitosis. Again, with plants, we're going farther from water and more complex and efficient. We start with spore plants. And remember, spores have to land in the exact right spot. They don't have any life support system. They need water for fertilization. Then we get into the seed plants. The seed helps protect and feed the zygote, so it doesn't necessarily have to land in the exact right spot. We have gymnosperms, which have cones, things like pine trees, and they fertilize through the air, which is not as efficient. And then we have the advancement of angiosperms, which have flowers. Angie likes flowers. And the big advancement here is that now you have fruit that animals want to eat, and you have flowers that helps you pollinate your plants with insects and other organisms. With animals, we start out with these gelatinous eggs like amphibians and fish that use external fertilization, so that's outside the mom. And then as we move on to land, we get internal fertilization. First, because reptiles put a shell around the egg, and so the fertilization has to occur inside the mom. But now that egg basically stores the pond with it, and it won't dry out, and so they can lay eggs in deserts and things. And then we have mammals with the placental reproductive system, in which the mother is able to constantly be feeding the baby, have those longer gestation periods, and produce a much more complex baby.